Oh, that's familiar music. Good to have you with us. Ed Schultz, News and Commentary, live Facebook. You got the number 202-909-1492. When was the last time I did this? It's been a few weeks.
It's been May 30th, May 31st.
May 30th? Well, I've played a lot of golf and I've caught a lot of fish since then.
Well, we were in Scotland.
I've been doing the news too, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, look, I think I'm just getting into that phase of my life where I'm not going to bust my ass every day the way I used to for 39 years. Look, if you want to talk it over, give me a call right now, 202-909-1492, stories that we're working on tonight. What is the Trump policy in Syria? We're now shooting down Syrian jets. We're now engaging with Iranian drones. And the Russian planes are coming close to the United States fighters. Where's this going? I mean, we have no stated policy on Syria. That's one big story that's out there. The other one is healthcare, which the mainstream media isn't paying any attention to whatsoever. They're so fixated on getting rid of Donald Trump and finding out if there's any obstruction of justice. There's a healthcare story that's unfolding on Capitol Hill. The president is on record saying that the healthcare bill in the House is mean. The Senate is now saying that they may be releasing something on Thursday, which has been put together by 13 senators, none of them women, and a bunch of old guys are writing up the new health care law. There's not going to be any real serious debate on it. There have been no hearings whatsoever. Obamacare was not done like this. And there's actually going to be a limited amount of hours of debate on the Senate floor. It's going to be at 10 hours. So that's your health care bill, which eats up 1/6 of the economy. And that's how much time government officials are going to be spending on it. And the mainstream media just doesn't have any coverage on it at all. Everything is about foreign policy. Everything is about getting rid of Trump. Everything is about the investigations and Russia and all this bullshit that's going on. I thought healthcare was a big deal. I don't know. Back when I was playing in the mainstream media, that's all I did was healthcare, and it sure seemed to work, and a lot of people cared about it. There's going to be 20 million people that are not going to be able to get insurance right off the bat. They're going to be gone with the repeal of Obamacare. And I don't know where the outrage is. 202-909-1492. And oh, by the way, there's another shooting that took place last week. The story is not politics or what Steve Scalise said or what the Republicans said. The story is that there are crazy people who are not mentally balanced, that have firearms. And you can look at every shooting you want to look at in the history of this country, and you're going to find on the end of the gun a nut job that will find any reason possible to go do harm to innocent people. I don't care what Scalise's political background is. I don't care what anybody's political background is. We live in a society where you're supposed to be able to think and act the way you want as long as it's within the law without worried about getting shot at by sick people. And it seems like the mainstream media is afraid to hammer down on the real debate. Mental health coverage in this country is inept across the board. We don't have enough resources. We don't have the medical community willing to step up and say, you know what, I don't think Johnny should have that gun. And that's where we are. God, they're afraid to say it. 202-909-1492.
I mean, do you think it's weird that, like you said, a man who is not mentally stable, he fires a gun on a congressional member, or congressional members, I mean, God forbid that guy was a good shot. It would have been terrible.
Sure, it would have been a good shot.
It would have been even bigger tragedy than it would have been.
It would have been terrible. Absolutely. But anybody who makes any kind of inference that, well, we're certainly hoping for Steve Scalise to get better, but did you hear what he said? What in the hell is that? What do you think an elected official is not supposed to give a take? It's a political take or a position, whether you agree or disagree, the son of a bitch doesn't deserve to get shot.
Right.
And I don't mean to call him that. You know what I'm saying. I'm just getting riled up here a little bit. I mean, come on.
But do you think it's weird that...
God, that's stupid.
That nobody's touched on what you said, mental health. But, I mean, we haven't heard a gun control conversation. In fact, all we've heard is the possibility of allowing lawmakers to carry guns. And I mean, I mean, that's just... I mean, not that it would have helped in this situation. It's not like they're going to be on the ball field with a gun anyway. But, I mean, we haven't heard anything in the wake of this.
No one is... see, it's almost as if they don't want to put the pressure on the medical community, because there's no doctors out there that want to render judgment whether somebody should own a firearm or not. Anyway, the whole thing pisses me off, and I just, you know... See, it's time to go fishing again.
You're in 3 minutes and you're all riled up already.
I am. This isn't good for my heart. This isn't good. So that's all I got in mind today.
Well, Ed, there are a couple things. You know, on healthcare, the Democrats are going to do their best to protest. They said basically the Senate Democrats are going to try and hold up the vote any way they can. Do they have any play right now? I mean, they're the minority party. Is there anything they can do to number one, save Obamacare and try?
Well, I will say this: the Democrats have a serious point here, is that there have been no committee hearings, there has been no subcommittee debate, there haven't been any. It's these 13 old white guys that have gotten in a room and have written the Senate version of the health care bill, and they're going to have enough votes to pass it because they've got the majority, and then they're going to go to conference committee, and they're going to try to do something with it, and they're going to blame the Democrats for not wanting to engage, which is total bullshit. The point here is that the Democrats have a very strong position, I think, because people don't want to lose their health care. And if the Republicans, this is the issue that's going to cost them the election in 2018 in the midterms. They screw this up, they hurt people, it will be a platform to run on. It's not going to be meddling in an election. That's not going to do shit. I mean, come on. They said a story a couple of weeks ago about the people in Iowa are still concerned about jobs and health care, and they don't care about all these investigations that are going on. I mean, the silver platter is right there in front of the Democrats, is that they have provided and helped, and that we would have never been in this position had we had the public option, where there had been a federal exchange set up in every state. But it was given to the states to make the decision whether they were going to participate in an exchange. Well, the insurance companies knew that they could run out the clock on this, and now it's starting to unravel. But if you had a federal program in every state, and you had real competition from the government to the insurance industry, we wouldn't be in the position we're in right now. That's why I was pushing so hard for the public option. You can't turn it over to state legislative bodies to decide what the heck they're going to do, if they're going to opt in or opt out. And so here we are. We're really back to square one of the Bush years. We really are.
Yeah.
Where the insurance companies control all of the shots.
Yeah.
They call the shots, especially with Citizens United behind them. They can bankroll anybody's campaign to vote their way, and so they just turn it over to 13 senators on the Republican side to write this piece of garbage. It's going to screw a lot of Americans. Rural hospitals are going to suffer enormously. You hear me? You don't hear any of this conversation in the mainstream media because they think that it doesn't rate well. They have to beat up Trump and try to get rid of Trump as president. That's the only ratings that they care about right now. They don't care about what millions of people are going to be facing. You don't hear anything about unions or right-to-work laws that are being ginned up by Republican legislatures across the country. Workers' rights, equal rights, civil rights. I mean, all of that stuff has been pushed to the side, and the country is basically doing what the Brits are doing. Mm-hmm. You can look at the British election, which we were over covering on Scotland because they were talking about independence. You can see what's going on there. Is that people want to talk about kitchen table issues. They're concerned about their personal lives. They're not that focused on Brexit. Most of the American people are not fixated on whether something's going to happen to Trump. They're not. There's a group of Americans that are, but they're not in the majority. God, I'm so glad. You know, we're coming up on 3 years when I stopped my radio show. And I'm glad I did. Best thing I ever did, by the way.
I think actually we passed that. It was.
I thought it was July of 14.
No, it was May of 14.
Was it May of 14?
Yes, because I think our last show officially aired on Memorial Day, but your last show on the air was that Friday before.
Yeah.
I remember it very clearly. And so, you talked about how healthcare could be the big issue that could sink the Republicans in 2018. We have a special election today in Georgia.
Well, keep in mind that Trump only won that district by 1 point. It's a toss-up. The polls are showing it's a toss-up. And you know what it means when it's a toss-up? It's the get-out-to-vote effort. So whoever had the best get-out-to-vote effort, isn't this the most expensive House race ever? How freaking gross is that? A House race in Georgia, well, I've never fished or played golf in Georgia, so I don't give a shit.
Hey, they got Augusta. You can get down there. They got Augusta, man.
Yeah, I'll never get on Augusta.
But I also think this election in Georgia today has been just made a big deal because it's a referendum on Trump. So the Democrats push it as hard as they can to win, and the Republicans are the same way. So they're just trying to support it.
So what if the Republican wins? What if the Democrat wins? Is that what they're going to call big momentum?
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? In the state of, we haven't talked about this, the Democratic gubernatorial race that was going on in Virginia. Mm-hmm. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, a bunch of lefties came out and supported Tom Perriello. He didn't win. So, and that was a state election.
Yeah.
That wasn't a district. That was a state election.
Well, and in that same point, I mean, that being a primary. Ooh, we do have one call, actually.
All right, 202-909-1492. You're on Facebook Live with Ed Schultz. Hello.
Hi, Ed.
Hi.
My name is Dan. I want to. We have a really good chance of passing single payer here in California, and I want to urge all my fellow Californians to call their state legislators and get them to get this bill passed, so we don't have to worry about this specter of what the Republicans are putting out there.
Give me the details. How are you going to pay for it?
We're going to pay for it through a 2.3% tax, sales tax on things that are non-essentials like groceries and things like that. That won't be touched. And there'll also be a payroll tax of over for corporations that make over $1 million of 2.3%.
This is a great story, and the mainstream media hasn't covered this either. When is this?
I know.
Is this coming up for a vote, or what's happening here?
It has passed the Senate and is now on its way to the state assembly.
Okay. And when is that? When are they going to take action on that?
That's a good question. Hopefully very soon.
All right. Well, we all know that Jerry Brown is going to sign it. Jerry Brown, he'll be all over that. But
not if he thinks it's too cost prohibitive.
Does he think it's too cost prohibitive?
There is a conservative streak in some of the Democrats in the state assembly that are a little afraid of the price of getting it passed.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that.
Well, let me offer this up to you. You can pay for anything you want to pay for. We pay for a military.
Exactly.
We pay for a military budget of $658 billion a year. In fact, our military budget is, if you take the next 7 countries, China, Russia, the UK, Japan, South Korea, and I don't know who the rest of them are, but they're the next 7 countries, Germany, Israel, yeah. Add up all their budgets, it doesn't equal $658 billion. I mean, we have decided that military strength, military power, selling security around the world, that's what we do better than anybody else. And the fact is that we're willing to pay for it. So I don't take this garbage that you can't pay for universal health care. You can pay for anything you want to pay for.
Exactly right. Thank you, Ed.
Good to have you with us. 202-909-1492. I didn't know that story.
Yeah, there were.
I didn't know that. Universal health care, a bill has passed the Senate in California and it's going to the state assembly.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's a very contentious issue, as he said. But I mean, think about that.
If I were in the state assembly, the hell with the money. I'd vote yes to pass it just to see how the people would respond to it.
Right.
I mean, if they want it, do the people want it?
I mean, I think the people. I will look up polling for you, but I would say that the people want it. And I mean, what he described as an increase on sales tax, 2.3% on non-essentials. That's great. And corporations get taxed a little bit more to pay
That's
for
going to
it.
hurt the poor, but,
Well, I mean, it's non-essential, so it's probably looking at higher-end items. I don't know how California is, but we live in the state of Minnesota where clothes are very essential, and you don't pay sales tax on any clothing purchase in Minnesota. Many people around the country probably don't.
So I can start wearing underwear again when I get up in the cold weather?
Well,
I'm not paying tax on it.
You got to get your
All right.
Duluth Trading Company.
Oh, yeah. I'm a butt crack guy anyway. 202-909-1492. 202-909-1492. And I haven't done this for a few weeks because basically I haven't felt like it.
Ed, what do you think about the rumors that Sean Spicer may be out? Today might have been his last...
First of all, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the spokesperson is for the president. We've had hundreds of them over the years, haven't we? I mean, most presidents have, 2 or 3 or 4 spokespeople. Sean Spicer is a nice guy. He's been very professional to me and to our team. I got no complaints, and I wouldn't want his job to answer some of those. Some of the mainstream media ask questions that they already know the answer to, but they just want to hear his version or hear it. They think that's reporting, which is fine. What I just, it's a shitty job. It doesn't pay very well. I can guarantee you the people asking the questions get paid a hell of a lot more than the guy who's answering them.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it's not a career job. It's something that you do for maybe a year or 2 years. How long did Robert Gibbs last with Obama? Couple, 3 years?
Yeah.
And then he was never even seen in the second term.
Right.
Once those guys make their money on the campaign, they bail out.
They
go Axelrod. I mean, he made some money.
Yeah, they become advisors.
Oh, sure, consultants.
Yeah. Going back to our previous point, 2 out of every 3 Californians support single payer.
Isn't that something?
However,
we got to do that story.
But the number drops quite a bit to about 50-50 when you start talking about tax increases. I don't know how they think.
Well, you got to pay for it somehow.
No, that's what I was going to say. I don't know how they thought you paid for it beforehand, but either way.
Now look at this. If they go with block grants in the health care bill to states, that means that a state that takes on universal health care, such as California, could take that federal money and do what? Spend it the way they want to take care of people. It would seem to me that the state of California would get a boatload of money because they're the 7th largest economy in the world? All right, I've had enough. I'm out of here. Maybe tomorrow or next year.